You're listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with host Doc Martin. How do you step into your maximum potential? How do you connect your spiritual drive with your physical path? Get ready to meet the maximum you the world needs on Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin now.
What is prayer, and why do we pray? Is it like Annie Lamott says in her book, are we just asking for help? Are we thanking somebody? Are we just in awe of the grandeur of the world? And if we do pray, what's the best way to do it? To whom are we praying? And what is the outcome we're looking for? Those are all things that I think are very important to understand before you start praying. So let's dive into that more. But think about that before you hit a rocky bump in your road and you want to start praying. Think about it a little bit. Think about, is it for an outcome? Is it to alleviate your anxiety? Maybe it's just to make you feel connected to something bigger. And then you know everything will be okay. So recently, somebody I love very much is undergoing a quite serious and critical medical condition with a very intense intervention. And it's scary, it's serious, and it makes me very afraid. So I find myself praying 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, and I'm talking to my holy beings, my allies. And I realized that sometimes I'm asking for an outcome that I want. And if I know anything about this person whom I love dearly, is she wants her path to be her own. She doesn't want me meddling in it. And I'm sure if she were to talk about it, in her deepest place, she wants her own soul journey. So maybe me wishing for a specific outcome isn't really the way to go. And of course, you can wish, but if somebody's on their own trajectory, remember their whole soul destiny is their own. I can't do anything about that. Even if I have allies whom I think are pretty powerful and they can effect amazing things, but this is really about a personal journey and not about what I want as an outcome. So how do we reconcile that with the anxiety and the fear and the worry that we have? Let's break it down a little bit. First things, who are we praying to? For me, it's how I see the universe, something bigger than I am, filled with intelligence and forces beyond my control, and filled with forces that I have allied myself with over the years. So these holy beings, and they're not always holy in the sense of church icons, but these holy beings, over the years, I have come to trust and know that there is a bigger plan at play, that something way bigger than me is operating the show. And that's to whom I pray. And I say, I need your help. I start out with wanting, I'm always wanting something at the beginning. And we do that. It's always give me, give me, give me. But after my anxiety subsides, and after I realize when I'm in this meditative state of prayer, when I realize there are bigger, more intelligent forces at play, I can surrender into that. And then I'm at the place of, yeah, thanks. Thanks. I know you've got it. Thank you. When we keep our noses out of someone else's journey, that's really the best thing. So I'll tell you a story when I first saw this kind of dynamic. It was back maybe 6 months ago where I was very, very worried about this same person we're talking about. And I wanted so much to heal it. And I did everything I could energetically, spiritually to heal it. And I was in deep meditation one day, and I go in my meditations, I go to a sacred cave. And inside, I'll just tell you what it looks like, just for you can enjoy the story at least. And this cave, when you get inside, has light and has a pool. Like I can imagine the Greek gods and goddesses had a pool, and there's columns of marble, and there are holy priestesses sitting around the pool in their white robes. And I was there and I was begging for intervention to turn the course of my person's horrible health challenge around. Now, I'll tell you that I'm very animistic, meaning my gods are in nature, in animals, and so I don't always gravitate to religious beings, although I can always feel the power of Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And I'm begging for things to turn around, for things to stop being horrible for her. And all of a sudden, in the corner of my eye, if you imagine the pool is here and the columns over here to the side, is a big cauldron of boiling liquid, but it was golden and it was swirling and sparkling. And the fire was pretty underneath it, was keeping it hot. And I was kind of surprised, again, because I usually go for the jaguar, the dragons, the elves of the land. But over here standing was Jesus. And I was kind of taken aback. That's not my go-to. But I also was in awe of the peace and the calm and the power that he exuded. And he had his hands towards this boiling pot, and his hands were filled with golden light. And it was adding to the stirring of this pot. And I knew that this was the pot of potential, the ultimate power, the power before creation, the plasma, the matrix, the divine sea, the whatever you call the void, the field, the power for anything to happen, anything in miraculous moments. And Jesus's hands were adding to this pot. He was filling this pot with potential and power. And without talking, in your meditation and these visions, you don't talk, you have a knowing. It's like you're communicating telepathically. And I said, please, please, can we fix it for her? Please, can we fix it for her? And I knew in an instant that she did not want me energetically butting in, that this was her journey, no matter how painful, no matter how hard. She did not want me butting in. And so I kind of looked at Jesus like, what do I do with my worry, my fear, my anxiety, my deep, deep love for her? And I knew right then that I put all of that into this pot of potential. And I put it in there, and I knew that beings higher than myself, Jesus, God, whatever, holy beings, Mother Mary, they could see how the energy of that pot was distributed. I had no control over it. But what I could do was add all of my energy in the form of feelings, worries into that pot. And then decisions were made at a level way higher than I am, way higher, to do what was in the plan, to do what was already marked in the journey. And as soon as I saw that I could have effect, that I could have meaning, but it wasn't under my control, that I could surrender to the bigger plan and add my love, my good wishes, my deep, deep wanting to that pot. So I've come to learn, or I'm still learning from that prayer is not always about getting what you want. Dear God, please, 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 can I have a different job where my boss isn't such a jerk? Dear God, my car's broken down. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Please, 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 can you get me a new car? Sometimes you're not going to get the way it exactly looks. But what I learned in this deep meditation, and believe me, I was shocked because I go looking for my familiar allies, the jaguars, the dragons, the forces of nature, and Jesus appears. And I knew that I had to remember, and I did remember at that moment, there are intelligences, wisdom working the path, the big path for everybody. So when you surrender to that, and a very good friend of mine who's very spiritually tapped in, when she prays, she says, most benevolent outcome. I don't know the details. I don't know the end of the story, but please make it as good as possible for as many as you can. And that's very Buddhist, I think, also. The least amount of suffering, the most amount of happiness and peace. So when you pray, there's a physical thing that happens. So let's break it down into the different stages so you can be aware. For me, when I pray, usually it's 2:33 in the morning. I wake up with this worry on my mind and I start praying. But when I get to a certain place where I have surrendered to the power of the beings, the wisdom, the intelligence that I know is in charge, something physical happens. My anxiety goes away. And I am sitting with my consciousness in unity with the bigger forces, with the big map of destinies. And when you are physically feel that relief, that connection, for me, I think you know you're in the right place. You're at the right spot. Excuse me. And I think that's why sacred spaces are so powerful. I'll digress a little. The energetic imprints that people leave behind for thousands of years at a sacred place adds to your energetic configuration. And it's sort of like the chemtrails have marked the pathway, have marked the journey. The lamps are lit, and you find your way faster. But at 2:30 or 3 in the morning, you're not likely in a sacred place or not a special geographic sacred place. But if you can feel that physical relief and you've entered surrendering, that's a good place. So then again, emotionally, you will feel, I believe, that relief. Because you're not waiting to insist that you get the outcome you think you want. I know I want my sister to come through this. I want that very, very badly. But that's her journey. It's not for me to decide. It may not turn out the way I want. And it may be even grander and better than I had thought it could be. So emotionally, there should be that relief. And you'll feel that expansion because you're now connected to these holy places, these holy beings, whatever they are. I believe a jaguar and a dragon and a nature spirit can be holy. And it can be Jesus or the Magdalene or Buddha or Padmasambhava. Anything that has that powerful meaning for you. These are forces that exist in the universe, higher activity, higher vibration than most humans are, certainly higher than I am. And then spiritually, you reach a place of that unity consciousness, and you are allowing yourself to flow with whatever current these beings and forces have determined. And you're not fighting it. You're not trying to swim upstream. You're not paddling your canoe against the rapids. And that's a peaceful place. That outcome that we think that we want, for me, I've tried to change it to, I want the outcome of a relief, of a connection, so I know that I am watching or stepping into the stream, the current of what's happening energetically, and I am allowing it. And I can add my power to the boiling cauldron of possibility. There is so much outside ourselves, so much wisdom, so much intelligence. And when the human world looks troublesome and rocky and filled with hardship, I really do believe intellectually this is an illusion, what we're living. I haven't quite embodied that yet. I haven't quite seen it so clearly. But the times that I do see it and I get a flash, it makes me laugh. Aren't we foolish to worry about this 3D literal world stuff? In the big picture, the real picture, in the divine matrix, in the universal field, none of these worldly details matter. And I believe in souls, and I believe that our essence is eternal. And I believe that we have multiple existences of our consciousness operating all at the same time. Although in my human mind, I don't always see it. I don't always recognize it. But when I know that, and I know the permanence of our awareness and our consciousness, then for just a flash, when I get it, these worries are laughable, even though every day they feel very real. They feel very real, very scary, very rocky. So that's what prayer can do. And I've tried to shift why I pray or how I pray to be different than when I started. And I think you guys would love, if you haven't seen it already, it's been years now, but Annie Lamott's book, Help, Thanks, and Wow. And she goes through the stages of when you pray, just asking, give me, give me, give me, help, help, help. Or, yeah, I surrender and thank you for guiding. Thank you for steering the currents of life force. And then, wow, isn't the field, aren't these beings incredible? Isn't the power that's out there unbelievable? Aren't I incredibly lucky to have just a taste of it and to have a glimpse that I can put my energy into the cauldron of possibility? So you might go through all those stages when you pray. But I hope you will see that there is so much deep meaning in praying, so much power in praying. And again, for me anyway, it hasn't ended up being the power of manifesting what I thought I wanted. Because all summer I tried. And there's moments where I have some serious power. Not all the time, but some moments. But nothing was budging. And then I saw that I was doing it wrong. And now I try really hard to move through the stages of worry and fear and anxiety and sadness and go to adding my power to that cauldron. And then God, the universe, the holy beings, whatever you call it, source, puts the energy where it needs to be. Thank you guys for listening. And I really hope if you ever feel like you have to pray, you can really taste that sweet spot. I wish that for you.
You've been listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin. Tune in next time while the doc talks health, spirituality, and the impact your beliefs have on every part of who you are, body and soul. Doc Martin unpacks the challenges we face as human beings. To learn more about Doc Martin and Maximum Medicine, visit www.sharonmartinmd.com.